If I had to describe Tomorrow Blue by Toad in just 2 words, it would be balls personified. This Swiss hard-charging heavy metal blues band is just giving me the feeling that blues used to give me when I first discovered the genre when I was 13. It really just has balls. That's what I keep on coming back to anytime I think of words to describe this album. Like I previously said, Toad is a Swiss power trio, and they mainly operated from the early 70s all the way up to, well, I mean, they just put out a couple of their albums on Spotify like a decade ago. So, I mean, technically, they are still in form, I guess. I don't know. The best comparison I have for Tomorrow Blue would be an early Boston. It kind of has that space opera feeling, you know, where you could really just see it behind a couple giant ships just kind of flying by the screen. One of my favorite things about this album is that it could just all be hard charging, just in your fucking grill. But then they could also slow it down for a romantic ballad. But even though it's a romantic ballad, I'm pretty sure it's the 5th track on the album or the 3rd, or it's one of those. It's the only slow song on the album. You'll know when you get to it. But it has that pair of balls still. The phrasing for each one of the instruments also, the guitar, bass, and drums, is pretty close to perfect. I'd have to say phenomenal, because you're not hearing the same pentatonic licks over and over. I'm not saying there's no pentatonic licks on this, because, you know, without the pentatonic scale, a blues album isn't really possible. But the thing is, all the phrasing is just fresh, which sounds kind of funny for a blues album that came out in 1972, but it does. You have to hear it for yourself. When I was listening to this album for the very first time, it kind of brought the idea into my head of that one scene in Ratatouille where the critic has a bite and then he's flashback to his childhood. That's why I made the thumbnail the Ratatouille guy. In my opinion, there's really only one corny ass fucking song on this entire album, and that would probably have to be the cover of I Saw Her Standing There, originally done by the Beatles. I mean, I get it. Most bands that were playing in the 70s were heavily influenced by the Beatles, and who the fuck doesn't love the Beatles? But the thing is, they could have made it more their own. Instead, they just did the bum ba dum da dum da, you know, and just like, I don't know if people are gonna understand what I mean by that. They kind of just went through the motions on that track. But other than that, this album is awesome. I would have to say this is a gem that I just stumbled upon, and I heavily recommend it to anyone who's a fan of this type of music. And the final score out of 10 I would have to give this album is an 8.432 out of 10. If you have any more suggestions, leave them in the comments. If not, I'm gonna continue just finding weird ass albums on my own and give it a listen. But I'm Obscure Album Reviews, and I will see you later.